Hello, everybody. We are back with more Nintendo Week. I am your host, Colin McIsaac, and as always, I'm joined by Alex Plant.
Yo.
And Ben Lemereau.
It is now almost 2 in the morning, and I still have no witty things to say.
So, Nintendo has announced that they are teaming up with Universal Studios to create theme park attractions based on Nintendo characters and games. Iwata says that there have been many requests from companies looking to build Nintendo theme park attractions, but plans were never drawn up. However, when Iwata met with Universal, he was surprised by the extremely detailed plans they had for their attractions. When he returned to Japan, he immediately met with Miyamoto to talk it over, and since then, Universal's attraction engineers have been meeting with veteran Nintendo producers regularly to design these attractions. So, we thought it would be fun to talk about what kinds of rides we hope to see at Universal, featuring Nintendo characters. So, who wants to start off?
So, this probably wouldn't be the most, adrenaline-pumping, thrill ride, but it would just be, a nostalgia-fueled experience. Why not make Pokemon Snap, for real, though?
You win. Discussion over. The end.
I just, ride around through various different, environments.
That's such a good idea.
It'd be fantastic.
Like a Disneyland-style sort of thing.
Right. Well, that's a really good idea.
Except for with an interactive element to
Yeah,
it.
exactly. Have little, Wii U gamepads you can, snap pictures with.
Speaking of which, why no Pokemon Snap 2?
Oh my god.
Anyway, that's a discussion for another time.
That is a discussion for all times.
If we're gonna go for non-adrenaline pumping things, I think a good ride would be a bumper cars ride of Baby Park, and you'd have 2 people in each car because of Double Dash, and just ride around in bumper cars.
Question:
fun.
Can I throw turtle shells at people on this ride?
No, but we will get to that later. I have another idea.
Ooh.
Just your average bumper cart ride. That's what they could do to make their bumper cars at Universal.
I don't know why you're calling Baby Park anything but adrenaline pumping, Colin. It doesn't make any sense.
200cc. Too much. Well, because we wouldn't have shells in the bumper car version.
See,
so no more adrenaline.
Here's where I think your vision is a little too tame. I think they could do it. I think they could have an AR overlay.
I told you, I'm getting to that. It's a different attraction.
Fine.
Patience, Alex.
Fine.
One thing I realized why it's important to have, I think, a bumper car ride that's, tame, is just because you're going to have little kids. You want little kids going. It's like a younger people's ride, essentially, where a bunch of, adults will get on it because it's Baby Park and they love Mario Kart, but also a bunch of, little kids will go to that attraction because they like that attraction itself.
Oh, I do agree with your idea for a tamer ride for kids. It's just funny to me that you're mentioning Baby Park as the subdued ride.
Yeah. Well, which is, it's so funny because Baby Park is, so not subdued in Mario Kart, but in, the theme of Baby Park in Mario Kart is that it's the tamest thing in the world. It's just a loop.
Right.
And it's called Baby Park.
Right.
But
No,
anyway.
definitely. As far as my most wanted attractions, they're actually not necessarily rides. They're more about sort of themed lands, kind of like the Harry Potter areas, where you don't necessarily have a ride for every property, but for example, you could have Hyrule Castle and you can explore it, and there are restaurants, and that'd be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
I can imagine a little Kokiri Tavern and a Goron Rocks restaurant where they just serve rocks.
Eat rocks?
Yeah.
I mean, it follows on from what I was saying earlier about how it's not just about the characters and about the things that you're doing, it's about the game universes too. And since this is a physical space we're talking about, it would be a great way to kind of see the Nintendo worlds come to life and not just Nintendo gameplay elements or game characters.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a really important aspect of this.
The next idea I had, to me, just jumped out at me as a super obvious one. A Donkey Kong Country minecart ride.
Oh, I had that one too! Dude, high five. Woo! Awesome. That would be so much fun. So cool.
I'm not quite sure how they'd handle, the jumps where you, switch tracks, but the engineers will think of something.
You'd sign a waiver when you enter Universal. I am not responsible if I don't leave this park.
See, all they have to do is just put, a bunch of floating barrels underneath it, and it's good to go.
But yeah, a minecart ride would be so fun. Fit 2 people in a car at a time. I think that would be really, really cool.
Just remember to bring some extra life balloons.
I don't really have much else to say about how it could work, because I feel like that's a ride that so easily translates into a ride.
Right?
I think it'd be more about what's going... It'd be more about what's going on around you. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
There has to be like some caves thrown in there, and maybe a waterfall or two.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably more based on like the Tropical Freeze kind of minecart stuff and not the original, because the original is mostly in Donkey Kong Country. It was like Kremlings coming in minecarts that you had to jump away from, so that would get pretty dangerous.
And not only that, but the settings are kind of bland, whereas the scenery's evolved more by the Wii and Wii U games.
Right. Sawmill Thrill, what a good level.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
So my second thing, which is, as I promised you, Alex, I'm getting to this. Rainbow Road.
Ah, okay.
But instead of being a sort of roller coaster or anything like that, it's essentially it's kind of like a go-kart track, but each of the carts is set on a predetermined path. Now the interesting thing is, it would be mechanized, so say one car takes tighter turns and gets places faster, but there are different parts throughout the course where each like different cart would have its strengths or advantages based just on the pathway that it's predetermined to go, based on where, you know, the rods and everything are that hold it into place and all the conveyors. But each time you do it, there would be 12 different programs, and each one would have a different car as the winner of the race. And so each time you go into the Rainbow Road ride, you get in a car not knowing if you're going to win the race or not, or like what place you're going to come in. So it would introduce this really interesting like competitive element to riding a roller coaster where, I mean, it's completely out of your control who wins and who doesn't, but you're still really involved and really wanting to beat everyone else. And so every time you're like going in the car and hoping like, oh, maybe like there's a surprise twist at the end and stuff. And that's where you can put in these sort of AR overlays of shells and stuff where you really feel like you're on Rainbow Road, like things are colliding into you and you're bumping around and crashing around. Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to fall off, but they could do something sort of like Disney's Space Mountain where it really, you know, it's enclosed and all dark and it really feels like you're miles high. So they could do something really, really fun with that. Super chaotic, super, super cool to make it really feel like you're driving on Rainbow Road for real, which I think would be an awesome attraction. It's not exactly a roller coaster, not exactly go-karts, not exactly anything really, but really just like a real-life version of playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
And I think it's also totally feasible from a mechanical standpoint too, which is really exciting to me.
Yeah, and it'd be a good opportunity to have tie-ins to like Mario Galaxy and other things that might not be so easy to make attractions out of, but are important and relevant.
Captain Toad.
Yeah, Captain Toad could be a thing. Hunt for some jewels.
Yeah, I could actually imagine a Captain Toad sort of fun house. You know how some theme parks have like fun houses where it's sort of like a puzzle getting out of the place? I could imagine something like that for Captain Toad. It wouldn't be their all-star attraction, but it would be fun-ish. It'd be one of those other attractions for younger audiences.
Yeah.
And me.
One thing that and man children. One thing that I'd like to see is a Star Fox sort of pods thing where you get in an enclosed R-wing cockpit and you can either team up with or maybe battle against other pilots as well for a session. And you know, the pod would tilt and spin around and all these other things to match the movements of your craft.
That would be pretty cool.
It'd be a good, because we've seen space rides at places like Epcot where they've used the motion to sort of simulate the movement. And this would be a good interactive version of that, where you're actually doing something and you're actually controlling the movement.
I could also see a great way to open that where everyone's in the cockpit from like Star Fox 64, and you hear Sergeant Pepper go, "Good luck," and everyone's like,
yeah,
and then you hear boop 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 do.
Yeah, it'd be a mission that the riders are embarking upon.
I think that'd be really fun. Good choice.
Yeah.
So, Alex, you mentioned instead of a ride, just having like a building you could walk through and just like explore a Nintendo environment. And Colin, you mentioned AR, so I'm just gonna go ahead and yoink those two ideas and throw them together. And like, I think it would be cool to have like a interactive like Luigis Mansion thing where you go through like a haunted mansion and like track down ghosts using like AR goggles that like let you see the ghosts.
Oh, that's such a good idea. I was trying to think of how a Luigi's Mansion attraction could work, and I ultimately just settled, like, it would be too hard. Like, it's not gonna happen. But you're right. That could totally happen, and that would be awesome, and I really want to do it, because I love Luigi's Mansion. And it would be so cool to walk around in real life. Oh man, good choice.
See, Nintendo should have hired us instead of Universal. Come on.
Right? We have all the experience. So my next thing is, I feel like, way too obvious for no one to have ever said it, but I have not seen anyone ever say it. An obstacle course that's just a recreation of World 1-1 from Super Mario Bros. Where they have all the pitfalls and all the Goombas and Koopas and everything, all the breakable blocks, but basically there's sort of like one balance beam that you stand and run on. That's like the main platform, and if you fall down in the pitfalls...
You die.
Well, everywhere else is just really well cushioned, so that, like, if you fall, you don't hit your head on the balance beam and, like, you know, risk, like, super hard injury. You, like, bounce sort of against the cushion and fall safely to, like, the ground. But still recreating that first level, so you can actually run and jump on Goombas and break blocks and, like, go down warp pipes and stuff. Recreating that so that you can live out Super Mario Bros. I think is a cool idea. It's also a sort of attraction that is, again, not really similar at all to anything at any other theme parks. It's really its own thing based on bringing the experience of a game into a sort of first-person perspective. Like, what if you were Mario in World 1-1? Like, what would that look like?
And I don't think very many game environments have as much, like, brand recognition as World 1-1 of Mario.
Oh, yeah, I feel like that attraction alone could really bring in a whole ton of people, you know, just to say... I'm gonna play a real-life version of Mario. Like, how insane is that?
Yeah, that's...
I have this one isn't nearly as thought out, but just, if they just wanted to do, like, a super intense, fast roller coaster that's just kind of like the thrill ride thing, obviously FZero would be the thing you'd want to skin that with.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would think, instead of just having it be a fast roller coaster, you know, have it be like a race thing where there's, you know, maybe multiple carts going on different tracks and different ones will win at different times. So you can, you know, compete with your friends in the line, you know, which line are you going to get behind, and, you know, I think that'd be just a...
And they could also do a lot of really adrenaline-pumping stuff with, like, the speaker systems and that kind of thing. Because, you know, the sound in FZero is so intense, and if they're blasting that kind of music at you, like, during this ride, oh my god, living that in real life would be so insane. Mm-hmm. And I can also imagine the announcer from, like, F-Zero GX, "You've got boost power!" Like, right as it speeds up really fast, and that could be so much fun.
One that I could see... I wonder how they would pull it off, but it'd be interesting, is a Splatoon paintball area where you're just shooting goo at each other. I mean, parents might be a little wary of it, but...
they could maybe have, like, shower stations maybe at the end. Go swimming in Delfino Plaza.
And I'm thinking of, like, old Nickelodeon shows where they would all get slimed at some point, and, you know, that was popular.
You got Splatooned.
Now you have people doing it to each other, and I don't know. Especially since Splatoon is fresh and new, and something that's targeted at kids.
Yeah.
And it should be it's a sporty sort of thing, which is not something you get a lot of out of Nintendo games
absolutely.
that aren't, like, racing games. So it'd be a good change of pace as far as attractions go, because most attractions are sort of based on you looking at things, but this would be interactive.
Yeah, I think that could be super fun. The one thing I'm concerned about for that, as far as implementing it goes, is how much ink they would have to use. Because if people are that costly.
Would... Yeah.
Splatoon has a lot of ink in that game, and so bringing that into real life... the expenses may not be able to justify the attraction itself.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you won't be painting the whole arena or anything.
Right. Maybe you won't.
So, the final thing that I had written down, do you guys know that Buzz Lightyear ride at Disney where you're in that little cart and you're shooting at different targets based on Zurg and aliens and stuff?
I was on it the last time I was there, so I totally know what you're talking about.
It's pretty tame. I'm thinking a more intense version of that, skinned after Kid Icarus Uprising.
Oh, nice.
Where you're zooming around in that car, you're shooting at stuff all over, trying to get, like, the most amount of points, but as that's happening, stuff's going on, like Medusa's rising up, and Dark Pit flies in from somewhere, like, yelling at you, like, making fun of you in the car, and then you have to go, like, shoot Dark Pit and stuff. And the speakers come in, you know, playing all sorts of different themes, and having, like, these characters banter with each other, and all this kind of fun stuff that really feels like reliving a scene from Kid Icarus Uprising. I think could work super, super well in that framework of that kind of ride that's already been established as a specific type of theme park attraction. And then here they could just up the ante and make it Kid Icarus.
As long as it has better controls than Kid Icarus Uprising.
I thought Kid Icarus Uprising controlled fine.
Oh, Ben.
But...
Well, you're dumb.
All right. Can't argue with that.
One thing I hope they don't do is I hope they don't do a bunch of gratuitous 3D rides where you are looking at things jumping out at you. And I say that because the whole 3D venture has not been... It's not proven to be a very good idea for them.
I don't know that they're really focused on 3D anymore. I mean, when's the last time you heard them advertise, you should buy the 3DS because of 3D?
Really just with the new 3DS, but even that was kind of an
I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
3DS, though. I'm talking about other Universal attractions that have used 3D in the past.
Oh.
And Nintendo could see this as a new opportunity to push some kind of 3D.
Yeah, I
mean,
don't know.
obviously
I
not
feel
in
like
video games,
Universal's
but
over that, and Nintendo's definitely over that.
I hope so, but Nintendo's surprised me before with their dedication to pushing out.
Nintendo
Alex
has
has been
surprised
hurt
me
before.
before with Nintendo's dedication to weird, stupid ideas.
Yeah, they've been pushing 3D for decades.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's true.
I'm hesitant to believe that they're stepping away from it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Do any of you guys have any final thoughts on some good Nintendo theme park rides?
I think I got everything out that I needed to say.
All right.
Yeah, I think if we give them too many ideas, they will take forever to actually implement.
All right, well, fair enough. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. This is the Endo Nintendo Week for today. If you like this podcast, please subscribe to us on iTunes or subscribe to us on YouTube at Gamnesia TV for bite-sized discussions from the show. And please head to iTunes to leave us a review. It really helps with visibility, so we greatly appreciate it, especially if you have good things to say. If you can't wait till next week for more of our stuff, you can head to Gamnesia.com to see more gaming news as it happens. We've got Sony, Microsoft, Indie, you name it, and even Nintendo news that we didn't have the time to discuss on this week's show. If you have questions or feedback for Nintendo Week, you can send it to Colin at Gamnesia.com. That's COLIN at Gamnesia.com. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope that you have another great week. And to think there are still people who don't think Nintendo understands the right stuff. That sentence didn't mean anything.